Test, test, test. If you can hear me, please say something. If you are in the chat and you can hear me, please let me know. Because Amanda's not here and I am just a helpless old trying to figure this out. Hi, Daryl. I have. Talk again. OBS indicates that they can hear you. Hi, Sylphie. Daryl. Bird Wizard, Sylphie. Hey, everybody. Yeah, hooray. It looks like it's working. I'm very happy to see that. Hi, everyone. I have some terrible news. Okay. Yes. Um, Let me know when you're on. Fantastic. I have some terrible news. I have a feeling because I'm using old OBS, I cannot get my little ghost avatar to work anymore because the little app that makes our avatars work, it updated and now it just refuses to feed into OBS. And I have a feeling that's because my OBS is old. And I can't update it until I update Windows. So, oh well. Oh shit. Hold on. Oh wow. Crazy. Let me go ahead and do this. Properties, device default. Da, 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 da.
Can you share your
There
screen
we
so I
go.
can see your OBS?
All right, talk some more. Let's see if people can hear that.
La la la.
Every time you go to school,
Every
dogs
day
chase.
I go to school, dogs chase me home.
There you
That's
go.
the thing you always say as a test, right?
Yes, and no one knows where it's from whatsoever. Okay, now
Um,
we'll just hold on and see if the chat hears you. They should hear you now.
uh, okay, we can hear. There you go.
All
They can hear
right.
me now.
I fixed it.
Yay!
Hooray! Woo! And now
Hooray!
since it's
Um,
7:59, I think we can officially start.
Yes, you should post a link to my Twitch to the pinned comment in the chat in case someone wants to also watch me draw and not just you.
Okay, let me go ahead and get that done. And there we go. If you would also like to, if you have a two monitor setup and you just can't get enough, you can also watch Kel draw there. And I am going to do a really quick retweet. Just say live now, exclamation point post. Okie dokie. All right. And with that, everybody please like and fave the stream. Please follow Iron Circus
Yeah.
Comics. We hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube and I'm very proud. Thank you. You're all so kind. And
So I got a I like I said before we went live, I've been drawing reader question comics all day. Answering people's questions about my gay werewolves in the future.
But before you start, I need to do my intro. We need to do our intro.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's your
So,
intro?
hey everybody, I went to sleep with a tummy ache this afternoon and I had a dream my entire small intestinal tract fell out through a hole in my belly button. I put it in a little red bucket full of water to preserve it in hopes of getting to the hospital, and we called the ambulance, but the ambulance never came. So I decided to walk to the hospital because you could see it from where I was. But it turned out that was also the day Pattaya held its national marathon. So I was walking along with these old ladies who were doing the fun run portion of it, and I told them my intestines fell out through my belly button, and they were like, really? And to demonstrate, I put my fingers ever so gently on my tummy and pressed down, and my belly button farted and shat a little. I'm Spike.
What is that from, Spike?
That is a literal dream I had.
Oh, okay. I'm Kel. I don't have dreams usually.
Yeah, and welcome.
There's a sleep tracker app thing on my new watch, and according to it, I don't REM sleep very often. It seems like I jump straight to like deep sleep, which you don't dream in. So yeah, that's weird.
That is weird. It shat around the intestine. No, my entire intestinal tract fell out. Like my whole small intestine fell out in one big long rope. Like, you know, if you've ever made sausages or chitlins or anything like that, when you buy intestines, they're just one big long pale white rope that's cut at either end. That's what my intestines looks like after they fell out of my gut. Happy Thursday, everyone. And
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Yeah. And yeah, now I am going to in case you can't tell, Amanda is not here and she's probably really glad she's not here. Oh, and look at that.
Yeah, she would have hated that story.
She would have absolutely hated that story. But yeah, I am going to be drawing a page or trying to draw a page of my dumb little webcomic no one likes called Blicata for the stream.
I am drawing my comic about gay werewolves in the future. Like I said, I just finished drawing a bunch of like really quick reader question comics.
Amanda's in the chat. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Yeah.
Notice, it is not an apnea thing because I'm not sleeping poorly. I'm just conking out like immediately.
Yeah. And I'm sorry about the weirdness of this setup, but it is the best I could do. I am running, as I mentioned, a very old version of OBS, and it is not playing happily with pretty much anything anymore. So I do what I can. I could have probably made this fit the screen a little better if I just had it stream. You know what? Maybe that's what I should do. I'll just have it stream since, you know, the actual context of the stream doesn't make any sense anymore because my little avatar isn't popping in because of my old OBS. Let's just stream my actual thing here. Name for the scene. Let's just call it CSP. Because you don't need the frame if I'm not doing like Twitch guys streaming, right? There we go. That name is already in use. Shut up. Fine. There. And everything should switch over now. And now we will have a source. We'll do a display capture. CSP display. Okay. Oh, wow. Look at that. Crazy. Okay. And let's just go ahead and put this over here. Bear with us, folks. Let's see. And all right.
I am seeing black.
That's okay. There we go. Let's see if, oh, aren't you odd? Let's do this. Oh, or not. Golly, that's interesting. Oh, it's the wrong. Okay, sorry. There are multiple things labeled Clip Studio Paint in my task manager. Pardon me. And we're back. There we go. That should do the job. Sorry, I am not a pro at this. Figuring it out as we go. But there you are. There's Clip Studio Paint for you. Technical difficulties, please stand by. Okay. Yeah, but like I said, I'm drawing page, I think this is 48 of my dumb little webcomic. Don't worry about what's on screen right now. All right, there is a delay, but whatever.
What are the Keebler elves doing today?
What is happening on this page? This is one of those super important pages because it's a reveal. The problem with these three dudes right here is you have no context for how wretched they actually are because they're kind of all you've seen.
I am seeing a white screen.
It's okay. It'll fix itself. Okay. LBS will fix it, hopefully.
Okay.
Huh. Or not. Wow. Let's see. Oh, I have to press OK, right? Or I don't. Okay. Wow, you're just not going to do anything. All right, fine. Back to this. That is just not working. I don't know why. We won't worry about it. But yeah, okay. So anyway, the Keebler elves are wretched, and you don't realize they're wretched because you haven't seen anyone who is a basis for comparison. And what is coming along on the next page is a shot of kind of everyone else where they live. What, like, okay, so there's this thing that happens when people have the Super Bowl. And when people have the Super Bowl, what happens is you notice like when someone wins, they have those like Dallas Cowboys 2027 Super Bowl champion shirts like ready to go when the buzzer time's out. The thing is, they print those shirts up and they print them up for both teams and they have them at the sidelines for the instant the buzzer clock's down. And when one team loses the Super Bowl, something has to happen to those shirts. And I read an article once that complete with photographs that talks about what happens to shirts like this, because there are other sort of examples of shirts like this, like the clothing equivalent of Dewey defeats Truman. You know, like all the Hillary Clinton boss lady hashtag girl boss t-shirts and shit like that. All the, you know, Super Bowl champions who lost, all the Stanley Cup champions who lost, all the World Series champions who lost. All their shirts get donated to charity. And those charity clothes go around the world to deprived areas. And the deprived areas, you will oftentimes find poorer people in those deprived areas wearing shirts that are just blatantly wrong. Which is what happens to them because, you know, they're clothes. They're still perfectly good clothes. They get donated to charity. These guys are basically wearing crappy, sort of discarded clothes from a culture that doesn't belong to them. They've kind of got the same thing going on. They've modified it a little bit so that, they try to dress like people around them dress, but by and large, they are wearing crappy discards. This guy, on the other hand, is going to kind of be the equivalent of the shitty Chad in their culture. This is a shitty Chad where they live. And I'm trying to demonstrate he is very well off without making...
You want to demonstrate that he's the Chad.
He is a Chad. And one of the ways that you demonstrate someone is a Chad when it comes to couture is excess and embroidery, like lots of time spent on the clothing. And so I am agonizing endlessly over this right now because I want this to be a very important page. Like you see Chad here. He won't even have a name, but you see Chad here for the first time, and he's going to be flanked by other people. And they are who is standing up here at the mouth of the cave. That's them right there. And they are not in a good mood. And they are not happy. Chad is not happy. His name is just Chad now. I've decided. Chad is not happy. But a guided tour of what's going on with Chad for interested parties and those uninterested, you have no choice. You have to watch. So basically, this thing he's wearing right here, it is a cloak that basically gets tied around his neck, so it's got a hood, goes over his shoulders, and then gets tied up in his belt and then goes down. So it's all one really big piece of material. And it was inspired by this engraving, painting, watercolor, gouache, whatever it might be, of a Highland woman. That's how it was described. This is a Highland woman as painted by an English artist. And I like the idea of this just one big piece of cloth that goes all over the place. So I'm stealing that fucking look and I'm giving it to my little dude here.
The Chad.
And the Chads, where they live, they aren't, again, these are not agrarian people. I've talked about this. So what he's actually wearing is a hide and it's inside out, which is why you can see, if we zoom in, you can see there's fur around the hood and underneath and inside. Hopefully that'll tie it enough together so that people will understand what's going on. Around his neck are the ends of horns. And that was inspired by what happens in a lot of sort of tribal societies, or rather herder societies, where they basically let you know how big their herds are by something they're wearing. And he is just wearing the horns of young animals in a big clutch around his neck. It's not that big a deal because these horns are hollow. Like, horn is hollow. It's not like a rhinoceros horn, which isn't a true horn. It's like a real horn, like a cow horn. It's not an antler. It's hollow. So he can wear a bunch of them around his neck. And that shows he is a better person than you. And although you can't really see it super well, what's going on here is he is dressed in layers, because just like your mom told you, you got to dress in layers. What these are things that have very much fallen out of fashion nowadays with pretty much everyone on Earth. They are sleeves that have long slits, and here's the cuff. And you can just, if you're cold, you can slip your hand in the sleeve. But if you're not cold, you can just let it sort of lie open like that. And you see that in Eurasian clothing a lot. And these guys are sort of Eurasian inspired. So there's that. In his ear, by the way, he is just wearing this is fashion. This is him being cool. He is just wearing sort of like a tuft of felt. Like something that you would tie in the middle and it would become a pom-pom on top of a hat. He's wearing that, and it's through a hole in his ear. And these people punch their holes through, I think it's called the auricle, with an A-U-R-I, a auricle of the ear, which is the, like, sort of the shell of the ear behind the lobe and the rim. They punch a hole through that. That's the part they pierce. And he's got a little thing through that. And then down here, he has nice riding boots, which are kind of like the only imported thing he wears. He wears nice riding boots that's not traditional. And, you know, that's why his boots look like Bettany's. Because, they get their boots from the same place. They import their boots. And he is just wearing sort of a lot of material, and it's complicated. And he thinks he's better than you, and he kind of is. And one of the things that I don't think I'll have a chance to show here is behind him, probably back here somewhere, he also has a cup that is tied into his belt sash. That's because, you know, this is a period before you could go someplace and expect that people would have a cup for you if you wanted to have something to drink. People carried their own cups. He eats with his hands, so he doesn't carry his own cutlery, but he carries his own cup. And this is barely...
I feel like he should at least have a knife.
Oh, he definitely... Speaking of which, yeah, he definitely has a knife. This thing right here, which is only barely filled in, is a scabbard. This is a scabbard.
Okay. As long as he has a knife. I feel like he wouldn't be a very good Chad if he didn't have a knife.
Yeah, he for sure has a knife. And actually, if I turn on the blue, the blue line, you'll see which hand the knife is going to be in. So he is very calmly standing at the entrance to this little hollow, looking at them, holding a knife, and he's going to have multiple people with him. So, you know, sort of very subtly threatening. Would he drink from a horn? No, the horns are for your neck. The horns are for your neck. If he had a cup that was made from horn, it would be on his belt behind him, and you couldn't see how rich he is. So he'd never do that. Mm-hmm. Also, he has curly hair. I like his curly hair.
Curly hair is fun to draw.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to sort of, I wanted to take a break from the straight hair these guys all have. So he's got curly hair. And since he's going to be standing there with family members, I think a lot of them are going to have curly hair, just so I can have a little fun. Because if you ain't having fun, what's the point? And that is my long... Oh, that reminds me. So when I talk about embroidery and shit, this is just like the line work right here. And I want to figure out a way to make this look nice, right? I went on the brush, like where people upload brushes in CSP for free. And I have downloaded a selection of, let's make that bigger. I've downloaded a selection of what they call rope brushes and embroidery brushes. And I'm going to be using this as a guide. I will be drawing over it in the final, but I'm going to be using these. There's also patterns I downloaded. I'm going to be using these in the guide. So like, I'll be like that. So it'll look a little fancier. So he will look actually, well-to-do, because it'll be very embroidered. And while I was doing all this, I found a very extraordinary person on the CSP shop, which I guess that's the best thing to call it, a shop, who is really dedicated to making sure the embroidery of their particular culture gets seen. So they update a shitload of like these cross stitch patterns from their culture. I'm trying to like, let me just get all this off the screen so I can show you what I mean. Like this. And that is just like a fucking brush. I love it. And, you know, like this. And these are just the ones that are more abstract. There's ones that are like birds and animals and stuff. And it's just this one person doing it. It's fucking great. But what I plan to do, like I said, is just sort of like trace along the edge here. Not like this, actually. It'll look nicer, obviously. But trace along the edge here, and it'll be like that, and then like that. And so he'll look, you know, like a Richie Pants. So he'll have like a nice little embroidered and edged detail on his cowhide outfit. And that's how, yeah. And that's what I've been working on.
Well, like I said, I've been answering reader questions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to answer reader questions because like I feel like I accidentally killed discussion in Sorcery 101 comments by giving too much information.
Really?
Like, because if it's that thing where it's like if readers are speculating about a thing and then I come in and say like this is how this world building thing works. That kills the conversation because now they're not speculating because
you told
them the answer. Yeah. So I'm trying not to do that. And one of the questions was someone asked me if a character was morally gray or not. And at first I was going to answer them. And then I just changed my answer to, I want you to decide that for yourself.
That's a good answer.
But I got a few that's like people ask some questions where it's like one word answers and like I could expand, but it's again, I don't want to like kill any discussion because someone asked like they scan their IDs to get on the public transit. And so the reader question was like, so do they pay for like a monthly fee or is it free or like what's the deal? And I was like, it's free if you have a government issued ID. And I wanted to explain that the government issued IDs, like I had the impulse to explain everything that the government issued ID can get a character for free.
Right, but you stopped yourself.
Yeah, I stopped myself because your ID is also like a card key to get into your house. And it's also in grocery stores in this world, ingredients to make a meal are free, but pre-made meals cost money.
Oh.
So the food itself is free. You're paying for the labor of someone else preparing it.
Interesting.
So you can get all your veggies for free.
That'd be nice.
And you can get uncooked meat for free. But if you want to buy like a microwave meal, that will cost money. And then when it comes to drinks, drinks are free as long as there isn't a drug in them. So caffeinated drinks cost money and alcohol costs money.
But orange juice doesn't.
But water and orange juice and milk, those will all be free.
Okay.
And so the characters, when they pay for food, it's usually at a restaurant or they're like getting junk food.
Fully automated luxury space communism.
It's not completely fully automated because one of the things that hasn't come up in the comic yet is because food ingredients are free, the farming sort of lobby has a lot of power in their government because you don't want to piss off the farmers that are feeding all of your
There's always
country.
a catch.
Yeah. So Connor's husband is like their world's equivalent of the governor, and one of the conflicts I was going to give him in a later book is he is trying to get more housing built, but he has to negotiate with both the farming lobby and like nature preserve groups to figure out where they're going to build these houses.
And there's like NIMBY shit going on.
Yeah.
Figures.
So it's basically, so it's like he has to find a way to make a compromise with both like environmentalist groups and the farming lobby, but also build more housing, because some housing is free. One thing I have in the City Between World is you are not allowed to profit off of property. So you can own a house.
Oh, I know some people who fucking hate your comic.
Yeah. So any apartment building rent that you are collecting has to go to maintaining the building. Like, you're not allowed to profit off of it.
Oh, wow.
So the way people that want a really nice penthouse get around this is they charge for the really nice penthouses, and then like the shitty apartments at the bottom of the city are all free.
Mm-hmm.
And the government like basically will get you a house if you don't got one in one of these free apartments. And the problem that Connor's husband is having is the wait list to get a different or bigger apartment is really long. So if you get married and have a surprise kid, that kid might be like 3 by the time you get approved for your next apartment. A newer, bigger apartment that's free.
That's very British. By the way,
except they don't got free food.
Yeah. Someone asked about digitizing cross stitching. No, they are reproducing cross stitching in CS2 like with a stylus or something. It's really impressive.
Nudist is asking, can werewolves go bald? Yes, of course they can.
How
like
embarrassing.
Are they bald while they're a wolf?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't decided that yet.
These are questions that need answers.
Yeah. I do have that the wolf fur, when they're in wolf form, mimics their hair. Mm-hmm. So if they have curly hair, they're going to look like a poodle.
Oh. Distinctive. Okay, let me fix this. I need a more comprehensive eraser, I think. Something that'll just take care of everything like that. There we go.
And Nudist is rooting for the bald werewolves.
Yeah, like if a person with alopecia becomes a werewolf. That's
I'm sure they can look like your dog Harvey, but bigger.
My poor dog Harvey, my poor sweet old dog Harvey. For people who don't know, I used to own a dog named Harvey. He was an American hairless terrier, and he had 0 fur, and he was lovely. And when you pet him, he felt like a scrotum or a foreskin. He just had that kind of feel to him. He was wonderful. People loved him. He didn't love people, but people loved him.
One of the other reader questions I got is the City Between World a utopia or a dystopia?
Porque no lo
and
estás.
I was like, I was like, neither. It's based off of, I think of an idea and then I pull out the thread and try to think of what problems would come from that.
Very Terry Pratchett.
And so like they bring up as examples of it being utopia is that there's no cars. And
that's a subjective utopia.
Also one of the other things is all the cops have body cams to prevent abuse from cops. And I pointed out while answering the question that Connor knows how to get around his badge cam. That is like a plot point.
That's not great.
And it's like, and he is not the only one. So just because there's body cams does not mean like police abuse has ended.
Yeah. People will always find a way around, which is why I like that you've thought about like what happens if people just want, no, I actually want to be special. I want to have a penthouse. People will find ways around shit because people are garbage.
Yeah.
Humans
And the other
are.
thing
Oh,
is I have the city has layers to it. Like, so there's a sidewalk every an elevated sidewalk every 5 stories.
mm-hmm.
And because of that, that's partly why there's less cars, because everyone is just they're never really at street level most of the time. But if you do live at street level, sunlight doesn't get down there that often, so it is easier for a vampire to get around. And if they stick to the lowest level of the city,
Hmm. Okay. So like Warrens, basically.
yeah, but the city doesn't know about vampires, so this is like for vampires to like abuse homeless people and
Yeah.
get away with it.
I'm assuming vampires do not catch human diseases.
No, they're dead.
Yeah. Okay. Because yeah, just randomly, indiscriminately feeding from an underserved population like that, they wouldn't last very long, I don't think.
And the way vampires work is magic is animating their body, but it's based on what they think they should be able to do.
Hmm.
Um, so they don't need to breathe, but usually they do breathe because they remember breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like getting sick is a thing that most people don't really think about.
Yeah.
Um,
But they all got COVID
on
because it
a,
was in the news, so they thought about it a lot.
yeah, basically. And yeah, so it's stuff like that's what they can eat regular food because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they know what's supposed to happen when they eat.
Yeah. They have a lot of experience. They weren't vampires right away.
Yeah. But that means that the older vampires can like get away with do more stuff because they realize that they should not be limited by
Human bodies.
physics and yeah, physics and human bodies and shit like that.
I am noodling here, folks, so sorry for all the zoom in and zoom out. I'm basically deciding right now how these people look. I have had the
Nudist is asking what if a hypochondriac became a vampire, and it's like, well, they wouldn't last very long because
Mhm.
their mental state would kill them.
But yeah, I am basically deciding now in a way that I can't easily take back what this culture is. So I'm being very exacting about all the little details I'm trying to add. And yeah, disease is actually gonna be a thing in later bits of Blocata too, because these guys right here, they aren't just socially isolated in their own culture. They're also isolated, sort of, not genetically, virally, I guess. So there's a lot of stuff they haven't caught because they don't live in cities, and cities are where you catch things. Cities are disgusting, so they're gonna catch things for the first time. They're gonna catch things in their 20s and late teens that most people they will know will have caught when they're 5. And some things really don't like being caught when you're an adult. They're a lot harder on you. So I'm excited to get to that part. But that is like 200 pages away. I used to like not want to give too much away myself, but the thing is I always assumed if I don't do that, it will force me to like make the comic, but it didn't. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to talk about it. As long as I talk about it while I'm working on it, that's okay.
Well, it's also I don't want to talk about it because what if I come up with a better idea later? Like
Yeah.
all that stuff about the farm lobby being powerful, that hasn't shown up in the comic yet. So if I
Yeah.
think of something better, um
Yeah.
then
You don't want to be married to the idea you already said was coming.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um
There we go.
which is why when giving the example of City Between World not being a utopia, I use the example of Connor knows how to get around his body cam because that has been a plot point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it would be foolish to think he is the only cop that hasn't figured that out.
Yeah. Speaking.
And yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of body cams, I think I've mentioned this before, but body cams, and I don't think this is wrong. I think this is actually, if we're going to have cops for the foreseeable future, they should be filmed every fucking second of their lives. But if you pay a processing fee, you can pretty much get the arrest footage from damn near fucking anything. And what you do with that arrest footage is your own business because you have paid for it. And since cops are public servants, you can kind of just do whatever with it. Like, you won't get a copyright strike if you, for example, decide to upload it to YouTube under the title Karen Compilation, which is a thriving cottage industry on YouTube, if you didn't know. Uploading arrest footage. And all it's taught
you finish your thing.
Yeah, all it's taught me is I'm never fucking drinking alcohol ever.
On like the topic of body cams, because I was thinking about like what if you don't want a cop filming inside your house?
Oh, they edit that out when they give it to you.
Well, no, like so in City Between World,
in City Between, okay.
In City Between World, there is a part where someone requests that the badge cams be turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And the op character who is not Connor, Maria, she recites a thing that is very clearly like, I am required to tell you that the badge is on for your safety, and like it's like very like like I tried to write like
Miranda rights-ish.
Yeah, like you are by confirming that you want the badge off, you are admitting that we will not be legally liable, blah 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 blah. Like it's a legal thing.
Yeah, it's something they read off a card.
Yeah.
I am required by law to inform you that the badge cam exists for the safety of both the police, the law enforcement officer.
Yeah, basically, it is basically that.
With those things in mind, would you like the badge cam to be switched off? Please answer yes or no.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
There we go.
Because one of the ongoing conflicts in City Between is supposed to be there is more surveillance everywhere because everyone has like cameras in their phone and the cops all have body cams and there's like cameras on the public transit. Like there's cameras fucking everywhere.
Yeah, little brother.
And it's making it harder for supernatural creatures to hide.
Okay.
So the world knows about werewolves because they're trying to do a controlled release about humans learning about the supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
And werewolves are being the guinea pig because most werewolves have to maintain a human life. So like if humans are regularly interacting with these werewolves, that maybe that will go better than a vampire that doesn't have to talk to or interact with humans other than to eat them.
So exposure therapy.
Yeah, basically. And
do you know what
Connor?
Oh, go for it. Oh, go for it. You finish.
Connor is supposed to be like the poster child respectability politics character of werewolves.
Respectability politics werewolf.
Yep. He wants everyone to pull their pants up.
Are you aware of Weekly World News?
Yes.
Okay. For folks who might not be, because God knows how old you all are or aren't, there used to be this, or maybe there still is, this almost kind of like it wasn't even trying to be real. This ridiculous tabloid that you would find in grocery checkouts, maybe it's still there, called Weekly World News, and it consisted of basically nothing but outrageous lies. And when I'm talking about outrageous lies, if you Google Bat Boy and you come up against this like really badly done fake of like a screaming child with like bat ears and sharp teeth and giant eyes, that's Weekly World News. And I remember as a child, like because I was like, really young, looking at these pictures and stuff while my parents were doing checkout for groceries. And I remember like kind of the moment where I realized, oh, you're fucking liars. Because you have to have that moment when you're a kid. And some people have it while watching wrestling. I had it while in the checkout line looking at Weekly World News. And the thing that, if I might be misremembering it, but I think the thing that finally triggered that instinct in me, that sort of, oh, people just fucking lie kind of realization in me, was they had an article about how vampires had come out of the shadows and come out of hiding to beseech humanity for help because they were going about their business, biting people and sucking their blood, and they are now all HIV positive and needed AZT. And I remember just sort of like looking at that and going, okay, well, that can't possibly be true. So I guess nothing you say will ever like carry any weight ever again.
On that topic, because I know like a trope in supernatural media or sci-fi media is the Weekly World News equivalent is correct.
Yeah, that was in Men in Black, yeah.
Yeah, that was in Men in Black. It's also in a lot of stuff like in Steven Universe. Ronaldo's conspiracy theory, while it turns out to be kind of correct, like he kind of predicts all the shit that's going on with the gems. And this has happened over and over and over again. And the one thing I don't like about that is it's like, yes, the conspiracy theory guy is correct.
Yeah.
So for the next case I'm going to give Connor and Maria, it's going to involve some conspiracy theory guys. And I have had a lot of fun coming up with conspiracy theories that are absolutely not true. Like the reader will immediately understand that they're not true. Because I don't want to have the like Weekly World News or the conspiracy guy is secretly right about everything.
Right.
So I have been having fun with like, what is their world's equivalent of flat Earth?
What is it?
Well, so I haven't come up with that one just yet. But I do have that there's a conspiracy theory about Connor. Because since he's respectability politics werewolf, he doesn't actually turn into a wolf in front of anyone or change in front of everyone.
So he's not a werewolf.
So they think that he's not really a werewolf. He is a government-made super soldier because, like, he does use like his super strength and speed publicly. So they think he's like secretly Captain America, and that the werewolf thing is just a cover to hide that they're genetically engineering a super army.
That's definitely something someone would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. For fun, I still occasionally peek in on like really crazy conspiracy theorists. I skeet about it sometimes on Blue Sky, what they're saying, and I'm genuinely jealous sometimes because for all their doom and gloom, it's important to remember these people are literally deciding this stuff is true because they want it to be true. That's like that is the thing underpinning all of it. If they want it to be true, it's true. Even if what they want to be true is the world is ending. They have their reasons for wanting that. So it's kind of wild to watch people just fucking riff. Because QAnon has made this environment where kind of anything goes. Once upon a time, conspiracy theorists would disagree with each other about things, but ever since QAnon like really took off, it's been everybody into the pool. So
Yeah.
multiple theories that can't all possibly be true will peacefully coexist on like the same message board and not really ever come to blows about it. And it's just kind of wild to watch. Like
I might do that. Some of them think the moon is fake.
Yeah.
Because
And like
that,
like some people just don't live in evidence-based realities. Yeah. And it's just kind of fucking
yeah.
It is terrible to behold, but also kind of fascinating. I wonder.
I'm glad that Bert Wizard likes fake gay werewolf conspiracy. Thank you. I'm
Yeah. Confirmation bias is a hell of a drug. Absolutely nudist. It's just fucking wild. Like, okay, there is a woman. I won't get into any more detail because I think Amanda might still be here, and this sort of stuff makes Amanda sad.
No, Amanda left.
Amanda
left. Amanda's not here.
Okay, then we're going all in. All right, so there's this woman. She is big in QAnon, and her big thing is constantly promising, like, and this is another crazy thing. Like, these people, here's the thing that a lot of people don't get about, like, people who are still sticking around for QAnon. They're huge socialists. They're, like, massively socialist. Everything they talk about that's coming soon, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point, is hella socialist. But they would slit your throat if you called them a socialist. It's fucking wacky and wild. Because there's this woman who is, she is considered a prophet among QAnon in like the very biblical sense of the word. She is a prophet. She sees the future and she tells everyone what's coming. And all of her prophecies have to do with one of two or three things. Number one, the military has secretly been in control this entire time. Biden's presidency isn't real. It's all an elaborate hoax to make the enemies of Trump more comfortable so they relax. And then they will all be arrested in a constantly goalpost shifting date that comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes, but never seems to arrive. They'll all be arrested. The military will hand the country back over to President Trump, who won the 2020 election and has actually been president this entire time, and you just didn't know it. Haha, he fooled you. After he does that, all debt, not just American debt, mind you, all debt will be forgiven. All of it, globally. Everyone will be debt-free. Every single person, all of us. And also the med beds will debut, which is a thing I've also talked about, where they believe that there is a thing called a med bed, which is essentially a sci-fi bullshit thing that appears in a lot of science fiction novels, where you just lie in it and it like magically scans you and suddenly your health is perfect and you're 20 again. They truly believe this is a thing that exists, and the military has it. And when President Trump becomes president again in a way where people are allowed to know he's president, everyone will have access to a med bed for free forever. And I'm just kind of like blown away by this because it's so clearly, or number one, it's super socialist, free medicine and complete debt forgiveness for all. Like that, you're a socialist. That's socialist. But number two, these truly feel like the dreams of very sad and old people who find no comfort in their own mortality, and they don't want it to end. And I get that. I get it not wanting to end. I'm 45. A lot of the, like, to be perfectly frank, a lot of the choices I make these days are, I mean, I say this on Blue Sky sometimes, where I go like, I will never lie on my deathbed thinking X. I will never lie on my deathbed thinking Y. Which is why I celebrated my birthday this year by going to a candy store and buying exactly as much candy as I fucking wanted to. Because I wanted to be able to say I did that at least once. And I'm learning Japanese because I've said it before. I don't want to die monolingual. That seems tacky. That feels tacky. So that's why I'm learning Japanese. I want to go to Japan too, but you know. And these people are kind of like dealing with it in the way a person who is only willing to believe what they want to believe deals with it, by saying death is not real. Old age can be defeated. We're all going to be 20 again very soon. And that just feels really fucking sad.
Yeah, it's yeah. I got no. Yeah, that's just bad.
Yeah, it's denialist. And you see people in the comments going, "Can I get an exact date for the medbed rollout, please? Because I have terminal cancer." And it's like, oh, honey, this is not how you need to be spending your final days. It's rough. It's all rough. It's extremely rough. But at the same time, it's easy to not feel super bad for these people because they're all scumbag racists. So it's like, fucking whatever. Sorry, this is how you're spending your final days. You should probably be spending them with your grandkids and whatnot, but you're kind of a scumbag, so don't feel too bad about it.
I love palace cats. They're so goofy looking.
What are we talking about palace cats for? Who's someone talking about?
Oh, they're just popping up on my Tumblr feed.
Oh, okay.
I posted one in the Iron Circus Slack random. Cause they're just so goofy. I love them.
Are those the ones with the perfectly square faces?
They're very round.
Oh, okay.
They're round boys.
Okay.
I will send you.
Yes, please.
A link. They look like they're puppets. They don't look like they're real.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Okay, I will look in a moment. Let me just finish the detailing here. Let me just... No, you know what? It wouldn't be that nice and neat. There we go. Gotta make sure Chad's detailing makes sense. Because these sleeves, they tie back and out of the way. He is wearing lots and lots and lots of layers, like I said. And these things right here, again, if he is cold, this is kind of like, okay, there is a thing called, that I have heard referred to as poverty cosplay, okay? And the best way to describe poverty cosplay is like going to Moschino's or Calvin Klein or fucking someplace like that and paying $6,000 for a pair of blue jeans that look like you painted the house in them. That is poverty cosplay. Sort of like co-opting the look of a person who has to work for a living as fashion. And what is going on here is a little bit of that, a little bit of poverty cosplay. Because the thing that I have mentioned is that these people, this culture here, slavery exists. They don't call it slavery. And that's because it's like not chattel slavery. It's not like slavery in the American sense. It's more like a combination of chattel slavery and Indian caste system, which is once you fall to the bottom rung, chances are infinitesimally small, like minute, non-existent, that you or anyone that you give life to, any of your children, will ever climb back out of that hole again. And these guys are not at the bottom. They're not at the very, very bottom of society, but they are hanging on by a pinky nail. They are just, like a hair in a prayer. They are hanging off the edge. They are just above that. And that is because in this society, outlaws, just people who kind of don't really belong to tents, they don't know where to put them. So they're not at the bottom because the bottom is very clearly defined. You're beholden to a tent, which is, a household. You are beholden to them. You follow their orders. They clothe you. They feed you. They beat you up if they want to. They can kill you if they feel like it. And all of that is considered household business. There are no cops here. There is no formal justice system that has any kind of influence. And these guys are not sort of claimed by any household. So that's the only reason that they're just kind of like running around like they are. But if they were, things would be different. But they're not. And they are doing their level best to not be claimed by any kind of household. Because once again, if that happens, that's all she fucking wrote for these guys. And any kids they have. And chances are they will not have kids. Not kids anybody knows about. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But, that is kind of the deal. And they're not interested in having that be their life. Basically being beholden to a household that absolutely fucking hates them without a doubt, without subtlety, for the rest of their lives. So their only option is to kind of be like scumbags. And that's what they're doing. They're being scumbags.
You need to look at this cat.
I will look at the cat now. Hold on. I will put this aside. A retainer at best, a serf or thrall at worst. Exactly, Bird Wizard. That's exactly kind of their prospects. And let's see. Oh, yeah. Oh, hello. Wow, it does look like a Muppet. It's very cute, though.
And their bodies are just balls of fur. Like,
yeah,
they're very round.
I'm pretty sure I've seen a photo of one of these little fellas with his little paws resting on his little fluffy tail and sitting in a little round ball.
They're just big boys. They're big balls of fluff.
But yeah,
they look like Muppets.
Yeah. The poverty cosplay element, which I got there in the end. The poverty cosplay element. Basically, what's going on there is you see he has these things to tie his sleeves up and out of the way. Those are for if he needs to do manual labor. He does not do manual labor. But that's just sort of a feature of the clothing that this culture wears. So, and he wants to look nice. So that's what his sleeve looks like. He wears these lovely embroidered sleeves that have this feature on them. Even though he will never, ever, ever do the kind of manual labor that requires him to tie up his sleeves. Like men of his class, he spends all his time kind of doing mock warfare stuff in case there's real warfare he needs to worry about. So he is not a delightful guy. Just FYI, I know. He's
Chad.
He's Chad. He's the football hero. He's the guy, your girl tells you not to worry about. I'm being very persnickety because once again, I kind of feel like, when something is in your head, and Kel, I'm sure you can relate. When something is in your head, and it's this idea you have, and you're like, I'm going to make a comic about kittens on the moon, and in your head it's perfect. But once it hits the page, once you draw line one, a series of hard truths and compromises start to take shape. And you realize that when you show that page to people, you kind of can't take it back after. You have painted yourself into a corner. Your idea is no longer this beautiful, amorphous, perfect thing existing solely in your head where it can be perfect forever. It has to exist. And if there is something you haven't thought about hard enough, if there is something that you forgot to think about, if there is something where you think you want it, but then you change your mind, you're kind of SOL. It's kind of over. And so that's why this page is mildly nerve-wracking to me, because I am now establishing things about these people that I will not be able to easily take back. So I'm being very careful about how I show things. Like, I want to be able to justify every little feature that I put in here. So. But yeah, Bird Wizard, if these guys were basically, what's happening now, if they were kind of grabbed by these dudes, they'd probably kill Etney and Becky, and they just, turn Ta into a retainer, because that's the only, they really don't like Bettany, for reasons that I'm sure are obvious to us by now. Because you can kind of assume, like, they know a few things the other two don't. And they don't like him. And Eki is just a pain in the ass. Eki, for folks who are new here, Eki is this guy. He's kind of the shaman type, and he's kind of mean and shitty and weird. And what's the point of having a mean, shitty, weird guy around all the time? So, yeah, this is the beginning of a very bad day for these guys.
He is someone who attracts. I believe your words were gods and shit.
Gods and shit. Yeah. He attracts gods and shit. That's all he does. And let's see if I can't edit this a little better here. And 15 people came for Amanda and were disappointed.
It happens.
Yeah, I have a little thing up on my screen that says "came for Amanda."
I'm watching.
Oh, okay. And then you should like the stream. You should like the stream.
No, never.
Oh. But yeah, metaphorical feudalistic tribal societies didn't deal with there is no, like, I say there's no justice system. Like, kind of every society has its justice system. And it's just not, it may not be anything that we're familiar with. So let me see if I can't transform it. Can I skew this? Do I want distort or do I want skew? I think I want distort. Let's try that.
I have so much, like, world building stuff that, like, I can't wait till it happens in City Between. But I need to, like, think of stories where it's relevant.
Yeah, you can't kind of indulge too much.
Well, yeah. So part of why City Between is short stories is so I can jump around to random shit, like, but I need to have a story that goes with said random shit that I am currently discussing.
Speculative marsupial biology. Yeah, you're gonna get to see some females pretty soon. You haven't seen any yet, so that'll be fun. I hope that'll be fun anyway.
So yeah, like, I can't wait till I get to a conversation where, right now I've just implied that Connor is respectability politics werewolf, but, like, I got a conversation and a story. Well, it will become textual, because they're going to talk about whether or not werewolves should have their tails out. So all werewolves have tails all the time. In City Between World. They also have yellow eyes. Because Connor is respectability politics werewolf, he tries to always look as human as possible. So he has his tail in his pants 90% of the time. And he does not change into a wolf in front of people. He doesn't even like to be a wolf in front of people.
Why not? They love it.
It's because he wants you to think of him as a human, and so he needs to always be a human.
Fair enough.
And his buddy Jeff is the main character, Better to Find You With, and next time Jeff shows up, Connor and Jeff are talking, and there's a teen wolf with them. Who is a newly made werewolf, and said teen wolf notes that Jeff has his tail out, whereas Connor does not. Connor explains his looking as human as possible position, and Jeff counters, well, if it's out in an area where you know that people are not actively hostile, then they get used to it. You're probably going to be the only werewolf that they ever know. So it's good to have it out when you know it is safe to have it out, because then people get more used to it, and you're, like, spreading people getting used to it. And Connor's response to that was, didn't you get shot the first time you came here?
Faux pas, PAW. That's a fun faux pas to
good.
describe.
Nudist, my werewolves turn into wolves. They don't really have a half human form. They, um, I have it that takes a lot of concentration and is very hard for them to maintain anything that is in the middle. So even being like a cat boy equivalent, like just having the ears and the tail to be cute, like that takes a lot of concentration and is very hard. So being anything that isn't fully human with a tail or fully wolf is hard. And this is explained because someone asks Jeff if his dick knots.
Well, the thing is, I can believe that, though, because the first thing that people always wonder about these people is what their junk looks like. And it's like...
Yeah, and...
Let me get to it.
Yeah, so it's basically... in the same story where the respectability politics conversation comes up is... it also comes up that Connor hates furries. You're fetishizing him and treating him like an object and not like a person. My culture
is not a costume!
Yeah, basically. He hates furries for fetishizing him, and that's gross and inappropriate, and asking stuff like does his dick knot is a complete invasion of his privacy. Whereas Jeff has absolutely no shame. So when Jeff is asked the same question, he goes, well, theoretically, I could, but it takes a lot of concentration, and doing that while also having sex is extremely hard.
I would get a migraine.
You know, it's just like, he's like, it would be like having to do calculus while you're in the middle of an orgasm. and so...
theoretically possible, but not likely.
Well, yes. So, and Connor is just like, shakes his head in disgust, like, how dare you actually answer these people?
Shit, where's my line right there? Ah, shit, no, I didn't want that.
And Jeff's response is like, listen, if someone has a fetish, that's like having a cheat code to making sure they have a good time during sex.
It genuinely isn't. It genuinely isn't. I've mentioned this before, like a few times, but I was a bodybuilder when I was younger. In my early mid-20s, I did bodybuilding semi-seriously and got pretty fucking buffer than most women ever get when they start working out. And it took me like 2 years. And of course, as is the way of bodybuilders, I thought I looked like shit the entire time. But now I look back at old photos of me and I just go like, fuck. But yeah. That was when MySpace was a thing. That's how long ago this was, when people like cared about their MySpace. And yeah, I would get friend requests from total strangers, and I'd get excited because it's like, maybe they like my comics. And like, no, it was an account that was clearly some kind of sock puppet account, and it would only friend buff black women or buff women. And I can tell you, that did not feel like a compliment. That felt like they did not view me as a person.
Jeff is not saying it's a cheat code to his pleasure. He's saying it is a cheat code to their pleasure.
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay.
So him knowing that you have a fetish, he can cater to that and make sure you have a good time during your one night stand. That is his position, not his that it will mean he has a good time. Yeah. It is
you will have a good time.
Yes. Yeah. Nudis is asking, how does he feel about Disney's Robin Hood? That
is a
there is none of our pop culture in the city between world.
Fair cop.
So Connor would have no opinion about Disney's Robin Hood.
but just to be a pedant, that is a fox.
Yeah. Well, I think Nudist is asking because I said Connor hates furries.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. But yeah.
Since it is a fictional cartoon and not someone fetishizing him, he's not care.
Yeah. There we go. Oh. Trying to figure. Yes, and I have spent the last like fucking 15 minutes on a sleeve. Fuck you. I know no one's saying anything, but I'm self-conscious now.
I have roughed out almost a whole page while you've been fiddling with that sleeve.
Yeah, and that's why I work at administration instead of making a comic. Although, honestly, even if I produced pages of this quickly, I don't think it would have helped, so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to produce pages quickly. I want to produce them to my satisfaction. So, there we have it. This is an important page. I don't know.
It's the Wizard is saying, shame, great film, even with all the Jungle Book creatures doing a play.
By the way, since we're talking about Disney, I'd like to take this moment to remind everyone, Steamboat Willie becomes public domain January 1st, 2024. Now is your chance to be extremely disrespectful. You can start working on it right now.
So the thing is that's why Disney released those shorts that have a black and white Mickey Mouse that looks very similar to Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, but if you put a hat on him, you should be fine. And little square feet.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, if you want to... When I was way younger, I was doing, what is it? Inktober? Yeah, I was doing Inktober. I failed. I've only done Inktober successfully once. But, and that's, just one ink drawing a day. But, I did an Inktober once that had black and white Mickey Mouse. And, I did it in sort of the style that it would have been in, like, the 20s. And it was Mickey and Minnie living in a New York tenement. And Minnie going, "For fuck's sake, Mickey, did you even go to look for work today?" And I was very proud of myself. It was very cute. And I should go back and do that, and I should put it on fucking Webtoon, because now it's safe. Steamboat Willie and his wife Minnie, who get into loud fights. Talk about how she could have married a real sea captain, not one who drives a tug like a loser.
She's gonna run off with Daisy Duck.
Exactly. You never cared, Mickey. Walt Disney's ashes. Draw Steamboat Willie smoking a big fat blunt labeled Walt Disney's ashes. Yes, don't dream it, be it. I know you can draw Kristen Chaney. Make it happen. January 1st, 2024. And make sure to have a word balloon coming out that just says, "Yes, I am actually Steamboat Willie, and these are actually Walt Disney's fucking ashes, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. And I'm fucking doing a huge fucking bong rip with Walt Disney's ashes. And you should too."
Because there is no our pop culture in City Between World, I had a really hard time designing the tattoos that Connor's husband has, because I was like, how do I show he's a sci-fi nerd
without Star Trek,
without pop culture, or like it can't just pop a Star Trek thing on there. I have to like think of something that has no pop culture references in it, to be like he's a nerd.
That is tough.
Yeah. I went with there's a tattoo that I've seen several people get where it looks like your skin was ripped away and there's robot parts underneath.
That's pretty good. Trying to figure this out. Let me just turn off the blue and just take a look. This will be viewed a lot smaller, so I don't want it to be too busy, but I also don't want it to be low detail. I think this is okay. It's just gotta look nice. This is my one chance.
Gotta knock it out of the park.
Exactly. Now, let's just find a pattern here for me to use. Something that's not too cray-cray. How's this? Okay, that's pretty good. A little smaller. Okay, there we go. And there we go. If I wanted to, I could probably leave that in. I don't know if I want to, though. How does it look if I zoom out, though?
Oh, Duolingo's yelling at me because I haven't done my Japanese today.
Shame. Shame on you. I need to check on mine. By the way, thank you for sending me all those boosts.
Yep.
I need those.
I have the paid account because I don't like to wait till my hearts regenerate or whatever shit.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Same. I am trying to figure out if I'm even going to draw over this or if I'm just going to leave it. Trying to figure this out. Do I want to draw over it or do I want to leave it? Is it too at odds with my own style? I don't know.
Brits Wizard, I came up with a good solution for all the different tattoos. So he has a little cow being abducted by a flying saucer. I was like, that's generic enough that it can be sci-fi without referencing specific pop culture. And then, like I said, the ripped off skin to have a robot look underneath. And then I put some bees on him, like a honeycomb pattern and some bees, because I found out that there's like an AI thing called a swarm intelligence, and so I put like little robot bees on him. Also, I was like, he likes bees because since he likes that the hive all works together for the greater good of the hive. And then I put some space stuff, like nebula looking stuff.
I feel like I may be making a terrible mistake.
What'd you do?
I am trying out the embroidered embellishments on the hide, and I'm trying to figure out if it's too much, and I cannot decide. Because once this goes live, no takesies backsies.
Well, how many pages is this guy on?
He is on one page, but the thing is, and this is why I'm so fucking smart. Okay, so I mentioned this Highland woman outfit. This is what it is based on. What he's wearing is based on. Oh, that's just a page I looked at for reference. Remember this, everyone? This is when Bettany just fucking killed a man. You remember that? He just fucking dragged him into a river and stood on his head and held his head underwater, and then all the blood flowed downriver, and it was all like, oh, and this is how he reacted. He kind of just like didn't really react to it in that way that lets you know he has definitely done this shit before. So yeah, this is like there's just no reaction whatsoever there. He just killed that dude and then drowned him. But yeah, anyway, when this guy is not trying to look impressive and scary, what he looks like, and let's do a little sketch in the corner here. What he looks like is, here he is. And he's a Chad, so that's what he looks like. And there's his hair. There's his ears. When he's just kind of like standing around, what he looks like is, here's the hood, and then he just has this closed like that. and it's all tucked together like that. So he does. You don't see any of the complicated shit I'm actually drawing right now. It's just all tucked together like that, and then there's the end of his belt, like that, and there are his little feet. So it's actually going to be really easy to draw these guys when they're not trying to look super impressive like this. They're just all tucked together like that. And I'm very pleased with myself for thinking of this extraordinary cheat. So I don't have to worry about drawing all this complicated shit panel after panel after panel. There we go. There we are. Yeah, I think... God, I don't know. Maybe if I think I'm gonna draw over it. I might regret this, but I'm gonna draw over it, I think. Because it's gotta be mine, dang it. And I'm going to double the size of it, too. I think. No, you know what? I'm not. I'm gonna just do it this way. And some may say, like, why are you even using that brush if you're just going to actually go in and draw it? Because the brush makes prototyping very fast. And I don't have to sit here and be like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to go about this? I've already got a brush. And tracing is very easy. And I actually have a lot more control over what gets shown. I know this isn't how a lot of folks would do it. Trust me, I've seen Webtoon. I've seen like the fucking really eyesore 3D renders and brushes and shit like that. I've seen it. And you know what? A lot of people over on Webtoon are working to a deadline. So I get why that stuff is used. I'm like, no shade, no tea. Fucking secure the bag. I get it. But I'm not working to those deadlines. So I have a freedom to do this, to do it exactly the way I want to do it.
People in the chat, ask me more werewolf questions.
Let's see. I think when I get up to 100 pages, I will reward myself by putting it on Webtoon. I don't think it'll get popular, like I said. It's not built to be popular, but, you know.
I feel like sometimes Webtoon is an act of attrition.
Yeah.
Because I was posting, like, reruns of City Between on Webtoon, and... At first, it wasn't very popular, but now it's starting to pick up steam just by nature of the fact that it's like
always updating.
Yeah, at least once a week. The thing is it's always a month behind my website, so by virtue of it continuing for so long.
Excuse me, I'm so sniffy tonight. Yeah,
right now it has 1,700 hearts, whatever that means.
Yeah, that is beyond meaningless to me.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Okay, if you're not gonna... There we are. Yeah, I have mostly been inspired to give this a shot because a friend of Iron Circus and a friend of mine, Evan Dom, decided to put Rice Boy on Webtoon. And the response...
It was Vatu.
Was it Vatu?
He put Vatu.
Okay,
yeah.
Put Vatu on Webtoon. And the responses he gets are very, I am 12 years old, what is this? Like, people
Well, it was also someone thought he was doing it, like, as it went up. Like, he put up a page a day, and, like, there were several people that were like, oh my god, I can't believe that you do, like, these pages in a day. Like,
Let the children believe what they must, yes. So, when there's 100 pages of Blacada, maybe I will throw that up on Webtoon. The one thing that has stopped me is, like, it's not snobbery or anything. Like, I don't think I'm, like, too good for Webtoon or some shit. It's just that, functionally, Blacada is a very adult story, and it's going to go very adult places, and I'm pretty sure Webtoon doesn't like that. So, I just decided...
It's because you're in black and white, like, they won't care that much.
Really?
Yeah, because I have had someone's head blow up in City Between.
Okay,
and,
but there's fucking.
If you put a dick in there?
Well, I don't know what they've got, but they've got something. There's going to be, even if there's not like a dick, it's like, it's going to be.
But are you showing like a close up of their genitalia?
I'm not doing tab A into slot B, but it will be very obvious what's going on.
Yeah, okay, so like I have had characters do, I would call it TV fucking, where it's very clear they're fucking, but like it's cropped really close, and so you're not seeing any of the genitalia.
I love an aggressively unpopular comic. Thank you, nudist. I am nothing if not aggressively unpopular.
So yeah, so like it's very clear that they're naked and you just like can't see stuff. So, and Webtoon has not cared.
Yeah, it's plus there's like I've talked a lot about like there's gonna be some blood and guts. Like again
also
like, fucking
Spike. Sometimes censorship in mangas and webtoons is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Glowing
dicks.
Do you know about Dick Fight Island?
I have heard that name before.
Okay, in Dick Fight Island, they have to quote unquote censor the dicks so you don't see a full dick. But what they do is they put the thinnest little censorship bar that covers nothing.
Oh, I've seen those, yeah.
Like it's just like a little line at the tip of the dick, and it's like that covers nothing. Like that's
like laying a cigarette across the top end of a kielbasa. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. It's very goofy. But yeah, I'm trying to
find a page I can send you.
I'm excited to find the limits of what can be accomplished within the parameters of what Webtoon will permit. I think honestly this is all a moot point because I don't think it'll ever get popular enough to be noticed and therefore become a problem. But it'll be fun to see. It'll be fun to see if I can fucking trouble make my way into being noticed by the Webtoon people and have them be like, yeah, stop that. I think that'd be incredibly funny. Because, unlike a lot of people who post there, I don't harbor any dreams of, being Lore Olympus and hitting the big time and being paid by Webtoon and shit. Like, I don't picture... That's not the future I foresee for myself or want for myself, so I'm not super invested in that. So, and again, I understand that that's like a fucking that's a luxury, I get that that's a luxury. This doesn't make me like bitter. It's just I got different shit going on. So, and bless the little like kiddos who are on there fucking trying to be that. Like I got nothing but go get 'em, Tiger, in my heart for those guys. I'm glad kids are making comics again. I genuinely am.
All right. Okay, Spike, I have found one of the beautiful censored penises on Dick Fight Island.
Okay. Let me just finish drawing that. Let me turn this off, see what I got here. Okay, that didn't look so bad. I think this is something I can bear. All right, I'm going to go in Discord and take a look-see here if I can find Discord. There it is.
It's just a fucking... See, it covers covers nothing.
Oh my god! A fucking dick that's like a fucking arm, and it's just got this. That's so stupid. Great Worm Tournament. The chief is the most well-hung man in our clan, and he's taking him down to the root? Chief Lolo's manhood is a huge python, but his opponent has to be just as big a python to swallow him. This is exactly what they meant by the Great Worm Tournament. Wow. And I love this one sound effect. Fwop. Which is apparently the sound of a dick, like, fucking springing out of some dude's mouth.
Into hardness, yeah.
And I love that this is being, like, ringside commentated by random dudes. Just like, oh, wow, yeah, that dude is totally swallowing our
it's a dick fight. Yeah. It's a dick fight. Like they're all watching. They need to know who wins.
Yeah. What if it's a hemi-penis situation?
Basically, Dick Fight Island, the competition is about
dicks.
Whoever ejaculates first loses.
Okay.
The main character has an advantage over everyone else because he knows about a prostate.
Oh,
what a prostate is.
And no one else knows what a prostate is, huh?
Yes, basically.
That's how you know this is a fantasy comic. People are endlessly perverted and constantly fucking with themselves. I doubt there is a civilization on Earth that doesn't eventually figure out the prostate.
So he has an advantage because he knows how to hit that and get his opponent to jizz faster.
That is the goofiest shit ever. I am glad this comic exists, though. I should note that.
I'm glad that its English title is Dick Fight Island because the Japanese title is infinitely more boring. It's like the Battle of Seven or some dumb thing like that. Like, it's completely unmemorable. So kudos to the translators and the localizers for being like, no, this should be called Dick Fight Island.
That's how you get it bought. I still need to read Cherry Magic. This is by the way, for folks who have been wondering, because we've mentioned it like at least twice now. Cherry Magic is a manga about a shy 30-year-old office worker guy. And it turns out when you turn 30 and you're still a virgin, you get mind reading powers. And this guy finds out on his 30th birthday, when he gets his mind reading powers, that all his boss thinks about is fucking him all the time. And
I will say kudos to his boss for
professionalism
for being a professional and not letting that interfere with his work.
Yeah, I should note the boss does not proposition him or make passes him or anything. The boss is just like, hey, do you have those figures for Monday's meeting? Kind of boss, do
you have the paperwork?
He's very no nonsense and professional, but running through his mind at all time is like a sizzle reel of fucking violating his little subordinate. And I want to read that whole thing. I've only seen a few pages.
I edited a manga for 7 Seas that is about a dude whose dick is too big. So it doesn't fit in his girlfriend, so he has to get better at foreplay and pleasuring her without his dick.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is oddly wholesome. Yeah. I was not expecting this.
There used to be a hentai back in the day with a similar plot. This is like, oh my god, this is like so old. I could not possibly tell you the title.
My main complaint about it is they don't tell us what he's doing. He just gets good at it. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like this is a missed opportunity to be like an educational explainer manga.
For real. For real.
I want to know what his tongue techniques are.
Exactly.
He asks a lesbian coworker for advice
Oh.
on fingering his girlfriend, and I want to know what she says. Like, we just know that he did it, and
Yeah.
then he's like, I have acquired knowledge, and now I will finger you well. And it's like,
I will not
but
share the
what did
knowledge.
she say?
Yeah. Yeah, there was actually, I think I remember the name of the hentai I'm thinking of. It, I believe it is called, could be wrong, I believe it is called Elf Bride, and it is about a human, like, generic fantasy world adventurer who marries an elf girl. And the elf girl is simply too tiny and delicate to take his big human cock. And
Mhm.
the whole fucking anime is just him figuring out ways to fuck his wife, and it's very cute. And again, it's like you said,
I
it's
am
surprisingly wholesome.
I am editing a manga that is the opposite about of that. He has been isekai'd and now he has an elf wife, but she big.
Okay.
He is the little spoon.
Oh, I love that shit. What's it called?
Hunting in Another World with My Elf Wife. It's like half of his. It's basically, so you know how in isekai they always get like some power thing that makes them better at everything than everyone else in the fantasy world.
Yeah, they get very John
His
Cartered. Yeah.
his isekai power is that his gun came with him.
That'll last just as long as the magazine does, but okay.
Well, he also, like, the goddess that isekai'd him is like, okay, so your backpack that came with you,
Mm-hmm.
just write down what you want, and and put in as many gold coin, and I'll tell you the number of gold coins to put in your backpack, and I will then replace it with um gun ammo or whatever you need for your
And
gun.
he went, ew, this world has capitalism too. God damn it.
No, just the goddess has capitalism.
Lame goddess. Boo.
It turns out the goddess is just like sitting in Bass Pro. So like what he's sending her, like the bag is like a portal to the goddess's work at Bass Pro. So he just writes down what he wants and puts in the gold coins, and so she's sending him like camping equipment, but mostly gun ammo. So yeah, so he has a gun, and that's his superpower. So half of the manga is like very detailed gun talk,
Oh my
and then
god.
the other half of the manga is I love my giant wife, and I love being the little spoon, and she's wonderful, and I love her, and
That's adorable
she is the
though.
bestest elf.
That's reminiscent of, like, every once in a while you come across one of these mangas that are clearly like, okay, we get it. You wanted an excuse to draw your favorite things. And that was always the vibe Gunsmith Cats gave me. For anyone who doesn't know, I have a soft spot, a mild soft spot, let's not get crazy, for Gunsmith Cats, because it is a rare manga that takes place in Chicago and seems to be aware it takes place in Chicago. Like, it shows landmarks and stuff. But it is clearly an excuse for the creator to draw really nice cars and talk about guns, and that's it. And like that's all he cares about: munitions and automobiles. And of course, the Gunsmith Cats manga, it stars two women who are both incredible drivers and super duper love guns and just want to talk about guns all day and drive sports cars. And I'm like, you know what? Chase your bliss. It's fine. I mean, this is very transparent, but do you, boo?
Yeah, so it's just funny because it's like gun, gun, gun.
Mm-hmm.
Love my giant wife. Let me tell you how great she is.
I hope it gets a punchier title like Dick Fight Island.
No, it's just hunting in another world with my elf wife.
Boo!
Which, you know what? That's not very punchy, but it is. That's what it is on the tin.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
that's what you want is hunting and giant elf wives,
Yeah,
this manga is delivering.
for sure.
And it's not as ridiculous as Dick Fight Island, so I don't think like a Dick Fight Island style title would have helped it. It would have made people disappointed.
Aw.
Um,
I might have to give that a look too, but I definitely need to fucking Cherry Magic. That's what I gotta do. That's my next read. After the Summer Hikaru died, which I'm fucking enjoying the fuck out of. I gotta do the Summer Hikaru died, and then I'll do Cherry Magic.
and you need to read Being Mari. Mari.
Which one's that again?
That was the one I told you about, like the weird otaku wakes or shut-in guy wakes up in the body of the hot girl and then like starts to stalk his old life in the body of the hot girl and
the Kikomori guy. Yeah, I did read a little bit of that where he's like he's not just like a nerd, he's a straight up hikikomori, and I'm pretty sure I don't need to explain that to this crowd, but he is living in like this trash strewn apartment in Tokyo, and his whole family thinks he is in college in Tokyo University, you know, doing the family proud, and he stopped going to class like a year ago. And it was because he was super socially awkward on the first day. And that was apparently the day everyone decided to buddy up and find their friends. So even for his like entire freshman year, his first year, he just tried to like, you know, Iron Man his way through it, just not have friends, just assume the friends would come, not be impatient. It takes time, blah, blah, blah. But his sophomore year, he just gave up and stopped going to class. And he has just been like playing video games in his little shitty apartment for a year and not really planning on changing that. And yeah, it's really depressing, but it's like I know people who have had experiences like that, and it's like, oh yeah, that's depression, buddy.
Yep. And then he wakes up in the body of a teen girl he was sort of stalking.
Yeah, it's like the thing that I appreciate from what little I've read, I should note, the thing I appreciate about Being Mari so far, and you know, this could be wrong, I've only read like fucking 15 pages, the author seems to understand what he's doing is creepy as fuck and unacceptable. And I know authors who wouldn't do that. They would try to paint it as romantic. Because, just for context, and I'm not really ruining anything by saying this, just for context, he refers to her as the convenience store angel because she comes into the convenience store every day at the same time and buys a snack and walks home. And he follows her home sometimes. And he just says, oh, I just want to follow her, that's it. Like, I just want to be in her presence just a little bit longer. Everything's fine as long as I can see my convenience store angel. This is, like, clearly the one bright spot in my life, you know. And the one night he's following her, she stops walking, and he just basically goes, oh, fuck, you know, my cover's been blown. She knows I'm back here. And she turns around and she smiles at him, and that's when he wakes up in her body. So... yeah, I was like,
I found it because of a YouTube video that was talking about the incel to trans pipeline.
Okay.
And was basically Being Mari hits on a lot of the same stuff. The summary of like the incel to trans pipeline is basically, you get these incels that are like, I'll never be a Chad and live up to masculinity, so I'll become a woman because their lives are easier.
Which is deeply insulting and patently not true, but yeah.
But also, think about the type of person who thinks their life will be better if they're a woman. It turns out like... and that frequently what happens is these guys, they transition and then they're happier.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not happier because a woman's life is fundamentally easier. You're happier because you were trans and didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Like, You got to the correct answer, you just took the wrong direction.
Yeah, and then they become evangelical about it.
But it's also, but the thing is like they still have 4chan brain poison.
Yeah.
Because now instead of measuring their eyebrows to make sure they're whether or not they can be the ultimate Chad or not.
Right.
They are now measuring their eyebrow angle to see if they pass or not. Mm-hmm. So it is still like toxic. Like, yes, they are doing better than they were before, but they still need to like
you were just
get
trans.
rid of that.
This isn't like a confirmation that women have it easy. You were just trans.
Yeah. And even if they do get to that correct answer, they still need to like get out the like phrenology brain poison that 4chan loves.
All of my comics are an excuse to draw salamanders, says the nudist. Follow your dreams. Honest to God, follow your fucking dreams, because
one thing about The City Between is there's no cars and there's no horses, because I hate to draw both of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, and this whole thing that I'm doing with Blokada, I'm just really interested. Like, Russian history is beyond fucked, and growing up in, a Western country in the 80s and 90s, you kind of don't get a sense for how absolutely fucked Russian history is, in the sense that, like, Russians have been being fucked over forever, to a point where, quite frankly, a lot of it is just resignation. They're just resigned at this point. Like, we are in a country that kind of has an expectation of democracy, which is why we were so intensely offended by something like January 6th, like on a fucking visceral countrywide level. Shit like that just doesn't happen in Russia. Like, and they just sort of like, he's basically a czar. Shrug. What do you want for dinner? Because this is something that just kind of has been happening since 5 ever. And, like, Russians were not really depicted in a humanizing way when I was a child. And a lot of that was because they were the evil empire. They were the bad guys and we were the good guys. And that's what happens when you grow up in the 80s in America. That's just a fact. I wasn't unusual for this. This is just how things were. And after the fall of the Soviet Union, I got a lot of sort of thoughts in my head. And they were just sort of like, wow, they seem like they're just going to go right back to an autocrat running everything, and they're not even really going to do anything about it. And yeah, they kind of didn't. And I was just like, And I got a little interested in sort of like Russian history from that standpoint. And yeah, those are fucking destroyed and downtrodden people, man. They're just, everything's super fucked. I've mentioned this before, but like, they have been being kept in line by state-sponsored alcoholism for centuries. Like, that is just the state fucking making sure they don't do anything. They are literally addicting their people to dirt cheap vodka. They are manufacturing the vodka and selling it at highly subsidized prices as crowd control. That's not just Russian culture. That is something that is intentionally and purposely engineered by the state for that exact purpose. And in America, we talk about the state working against us, and it does. It absolutely fucking does. All you have to do is see the FBI and CIA files on Helen Keller and Martin Luther King to know that's a fact. But Jesus fuck! Like centuries of alcoholism that started under the Tsar and persisted under the fucking revolution. Like, I can't imagine a revolution failing in a more profound way than, like, going back. Because if you look at early Soviet, like, propaganda, it had a very strong do not drink alcohol bent to it. I think we've all seen sort of, like, the fucking square-jawed blondie guy holding his hand out to a little glass of claret or something that's being offered to him, going, "Niet!" And, like, that was a Russian propaganda poster, because they wanted people to stop drinking. They understood the use of alcohol by the Tsar and by like the fucking aristocracy of Russia, how alcohol was like used against the people for centuries, and then they just fucking did it themselves, and it hasn't changed since, and it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's so depressing. It's so depressing. And that kind of like kicked off a general interest in Russian history, and just, the reason we consider Russians, like, air quotes, Europeans, the Cossacks, revolution, czars, all that shit. And all that interest, along with other things, has kind of culminated in Blokada here, which is why they kind of have this very subtly, not quite Rus, but sort of like Rus adjacent sort of cultural signifiers. And that's intentional. I want people to draw parallels. It's not allegory, and it's not me, declaring revolution is good actually, or revolution is bad actually. It's me just sort of like talking about power structures, and what, like, a big element of what fascinates me is what revolutionaries are promised by the revolution to get them to play along, and how often that just like never materializes when the people who want to be in power finally get there with the help of those same revolutionaries. And that's fascinating to me, like the failures of revolution. Because I don't think revolution is destined to fail no matter what. Revolution can succeed. I live in a country that made itself independent through violent means, and there are multiple other countries around the world that did the same. And so revolution is not impossible, but it so often fails. And it's like, what causes a revolution to fail? And and who does a revolution go after? It goes after people who have nothing to lose. And I can't think of anybody who has less to lose than these guys. So I'm super interested in just sort of like putting that on a page and seeing where it goes. Also, he looks like this because it's kind of what Stalin looked like. He's not Stalin. He's not Stalin. I promise you, he is not Stalin. But his general look, or at least originally, I don't know if that holds true now, but was based on a Stalin in his youth mugshot. And if you have never seen it, Stalin was incredibly hot in his 20s. Just Google Stalin mugshot, and you'll see what I mean.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
All right.
He was incredibly handsome in his 20s. And this is just sort of the marsupial.
He looks like he'd fit right in Portland.
Yeah, he would fit right in. My last name is probably derived from the Cossacks. Oh, that's cool. I like Cossacks. They're fun.
I've been listening to more Behind the Bastards. The newest one I listened to is about the guy. It's titled "The Man Responsible for New York," and it's all about a guy who is why the New York subway system is in the shape it is in now.
Let me guess, racism.
Yes, but more, he just, much like Elon Musk, this guy just hated trains.
Yeah.
Because that's what poor people use.
Yeah, I know the New York train system is pretty eccentric. And one of the reasons that I say I like Chicago better than New York, and that's not out of like Second City jealousy or anything, one of the big reasons is the subway system here is vastly superior. But
it is also New York sucks.
New York does suck. But I have heard that my basic knowledge of the New York subway is it is the way it is, which is a nightmare, because expressly they used to be multiple private subway systems that were eventually just transmogrified into one subway system. So there was a lot of weird crossovers and redundancies.
So they go over this guy, and he was like the first person in charge of like the parks department for New York City. So part of it was he was building public transit and more highways, but also he was like building parks. Like officially he was like the parks department. And for some reason he got put in charge of transportation as well.
Because sure, why not?
And he it was early enough that people didn't quite know what these departments were actually going to mean. And so he hated public transit, but he also didn't really care about parking because he didn't know how to drive. He had a chauffeur that drove him everywhere. So he never really thought about where will people park all these cars I'm helping get into the city, because that wasn't his problem. So he was a man who never used or encountered any of the problems that he caused.
Womp womp.
So the racism comes in because where do I build these subways?
Black neighborhoods.
I'll demolish this black neighborhood.
Tale as old as time.
And he got a beach like funded and made all nice, but then he made it so the bridges around the beach were all lower than bridges in the rest of the city. So that way buses couldn't and public transit couldn't get to the beach.
And buses are what poorer people and black people would have taken to the beach. Yes.
Yeah, basically. So
yeah, I know this story. I'm black.
Yeah. So it's all about stuff like that. And it was the thing that he did that was like both evil and sort of ingenious is his way he got all of these like parks projects approved is he would pitch them with budgets that he knew were too small. He would say it would be like if I told you, all right, Spike, here's my comic idea for an advance, and I said to you, I'm only gonna need
3 weeks and $50.
Yeah, basically. To pay an artist, I only need $50. And then when it gets started and you've already approved, I would be like, well, actually, I need more money for the artist. And since this is a comic, you can tell me to fuck off because who cares if this comic doesn't get made? But because this is a highway and a park, they've started construction, and he's like, now you have to give me more money because otherwise you have this big giant sinkhole just sitting in the middle of New York.
Yeah. And by the way, folks, feel free to look up that little bit of information there. To build the freeway systems in a lot of American population centers, they just bulldozed neighborhoods of people of color, and they just
and then he also like made it super hard to update or repair the New York subway, because while he's building all these bridges and highways into the city and destroying all these black neighborhoods, he's in the middle of construction, and the rest of like the city is like, so you're building this bridge, and I know we're not going to make public transit now, but we would like you to make this bridge a little bit wider so we can build public transit in the future. We will give you like $2 million more, which, since this is a $20 million project, that's not that much more. And he would just be like, no. So he just wouldn't put in the like stuff that was asked for so they could put in more public transit later down the line. So like any attempt to fix the New York public transit is going to cost infinitely more money now because of this guy just refusing to
Do it properly.
let there be plans in the future for public transit.
Sounds appropriate for Behind the Bastards.
Yep. And then they also went over one of the crypto guys that just got busted for taking $2 million of his investors' money.
Is this the Canadian one?
His name is Sam something, and his company began with an F.
Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX?
Yes.
Okay, this is not the Canadian one. This is the big one. Okay.
Yeah. And the thing that was wild about this episode, because they were going over the crypto crimes of this guy, but also a journalist who frequently reports on financial stuff wrote a book about him and like was in the process of writing this book about him when like all this stuff broke. Like, so this journalist was like on the ground floor when all of this stuff came out and had access to him as like he was immediately charged with crimes.
Yep.
And it is kind of the book that came out kind of puts this journalist's entire body of work in question.
Sure.
Because it is very clear from the book, this man was also conned.
Yeah.
Because it's stuff like, oh, he was playing this video game during a meeting because he's just such a genius.
Yep.
He needs to be doing more than one thing at once. And it's like, that's not being a genius. That's having ADHD.
Yeah.
And then he's like praising this guy for being revolutionary because he is talking to older financial guys, and the older financial guys are like, so who is your CFO?
I don't have a chief.
And he's like, I don't need one. Like, wow. And like, what does a CFO even do? And they're like, well, they manage all the money. And he's like, you think I don't know how much money I have? So this is presented as proof
he's just
that
genius.
This guy's a genius, when this guy's defense in his fraud case was, I just didn't know where the fuck the money was.
Yeah.
So
Yep. I have Sam Bankman-Fried feelings that I'm sure other people have as well, but just you know what? I'm not even going to get into it.
No, get into it. I want to hear your feelings.
Well, my feelings are, and I've said this before on this show, is the designation of genius seems to be very liberally thrown around with one particular demographic. And yes. I remember seeing people call Sam Bankman-Fried a genius in real time, and my lip just curling in this uncontrollable sneer. Because it not only, like, is he clearly not a genius, but how fucking dumb are you? You know what I mean? To think that that man is a genius. How fucking dumb. He is conning you. He is conning you right now. As we sit here.
And he's not even doing it well.
Yeah, he's not even doing it well. He is conning you as we sit here and speak. And you are fucking lapping it up like a stupid fucking dog. How dumb are you?
And so the guy who wrote this book, like, he's the one who wrote Moneyball, and he wrote the book that, like, Wolf of Wall Street was based off of.
And now all that is called into question.
Well, it's called into question because it's like, oh, you have such a rich 1%er bias, that
more money equals better than, sure.
Yeah, so it's like, we can't like trust anything that you say now in the future because you were conned by this fucking idiot. Like,
Yeah. And just the fact that, like, it's, again, this is me being ageist as fuck. Sorry, everyone. But there is nothing more like I am in my early 20s than, like, throwing the door open and rushing into a room and going, "Hey, everybody, I fixed sex and relationships. I figured it out. I figured it out. Me. Now all our relationships will be better because I know how we should do them." It's like that feels really 20s. And that is what Sam Bankman Fried's on again, off again girlfriend, what's her face? She was really big into the idea of fucking harems and like fucking battling for the favor of whoever is basically sultan at that point. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ. I beseech you, a library card, just one.
yeah, so it was like it's wild because it's like this guy's book, like he really beefed it because he was very insistent that the book should come out during the trial.
Whoopsie.
And I feel like and so the Behind the Bastards goes over like if he hadn't pushed for that and like maybe if it came out like a month later or something,
just a few edits,
he could have realized how bad it would make him look if he wrote it the way he wrote it. When there is a way to make like an exciting narrative out of this guy conning people and then getting caught. Like you could make it sort of like an Icarus narrative where this guy tried to do too much and like that's why everything imploded. Whereas instead the book is like he's just such a genius and the world doesn't understand him, and it's like, oh, you drank that Kool-Aid so
God.
much, sir.
Yeah, and it's again we've been talking about confirmation bias all night, but that is just one of the most absolutely stellar examples I can think of in recent memory. Just like, oh, he's definitely a genius, and how do I know that he's a genius? Because I interpret his every action as the actions of a genius. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's like, aren't you...
Like, I think the playing video games during a meeting thing is like...
Yeah, it's an ultimate code.
That's like... Yeah. That's just ADHD. That's not...
It's just... I'm really glad. And here's the thing. It's like, I think a lot of people have a actual difficult time wrapping their head around how much money this man destroyed. Like I think it's the human brain isn't equipped to deal with numbers that large. We're working with primate brains designed to eat berries in caves. You know, it's so like just sort of even sitting there and being told over and over the actual numerical estimate of the amount of money he stole from people who trusted him, it just bounces right off us.
So yeah, so like the Behind the Bastards episode about him and his whole case kind of also is about the author of the book. Because it just shows how much this guy like
got fished in,
but also was like so up his own ass because of privilege.
Yeah.
Because they go over the author's background, and part of why he can write these books like Moneyball and Wolf of Wall Street is he is generationally the upper crust of the upper crust. Like, so he very easily has access to all these people, but doesn't like ever think or consider like
the moral implications.
That means that he is biased for them, toward them.
Okay.
Because they talk about the one book he wrote that did not do well and actually almost got him in legal trouble.
Yeah.
Was about a football player who it seemed like when writing about this football player's life, he interviewed and talked to the white family that helped finance this guy's career and all his training,
Uh-huh.
and like the white coach that was his coach for a while,
Right.
and like, but did not talk to the black football player about his own life.
What the fuck?
Yeah, because the narrative is like these really wealthy white people like
Are the
take this
yeah.
black teen under their wing, and like they like adopt him, and like and they get him into football, and like then they teach him about like the ways of the world, and
was
and obviously the black football players, like, they did not adopt me.
yeah.
They did not introduce me to the sport of football. I was a child in America. Of
Yeah.
course I knew what football was. Like,
Yeah, this makes me think about there's a thing that goes on at a lot of this is actually a fascinating expose I learned about back in the day. Where here's the thing, okay? College athletes are literally not allowed by law to be paid to play games at their college. So if you are the premier, college, you were fucking, you got a full ride scholarship to a very, very football obsessed college. You don't get like a salary for going out on the field and potentially suffering a life-changing injury every week. You don't get money for that. And that is a thing that is likely not going to change. However, what does happen is that there are alum of a lot of these football obsessed colleges who stay obsessed with their college long after graduating. And they go on to be, very successful people, a certain percentage of them. And what they do is they go to the college and they basically, air quotes, sponsor the sports team, the sports department and the sports team, which means that when the time comes to recruit the next crop of players, the scouts go out to the high schools and they basically lay out this whole life that you get to live if you go to their college. And it's like, you don't live on campus. You live in a luxury penthouse with the rest of the team. It's like a 3-floor penthouse. You all live there. You have a live-in chef to make sure your nutrition is right. You have live-in tutors, so if you don't feel like going to class that day, you can just be taught sitting on the couch at home. There's going to be PlayStations. Every game that comes out, you will get a copy that day for your PlayStation. It's like you will get a chauffeur service. You will get a grocery shopping service. You will have valets. You will get what is essentially a school car to drive around. And this is all being financed by, people who graduated like Florida State or something. And they're just like really, really just massive boners for their football team still. And so they make $1 million in investing, and then they have these like annual remittances to Florida State for $100,000 to try and convince the best high school players in America to come to their college. So these kids, because they are kids, these are like 17, 18, 19-year-olds.
yeah.
These kids are being shown all this, and it's like, no, they're not getting paid, but they are living the life of fucking Riley if they go to the right college. And of course, this is massively, massively subject to corruption. So,
Kristen Cheney is pointing out, so the book and the movie is called Blindsided, and the black guy that it is about never got any money from either the book or the movie.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
But the white family did.
That's great. That makes me really happy.
And when asked about why did you interview all these white people about this black guy's career
and not him,
they're like, he's like, well, I did talk to him, but he just wasn't good at like telling his narrative in a relatable way. And it's like, yeah, because you only understand the 1%.
Gross.
And the black guy that it's about wrote his own book, called "I Beat the Odds: From Homelessness to the Blind Side and Beyond."
Okay.
So this was like a homeless black teen.
Okay.
Uh, and
I'd like to note, everyone, that in the 2 hours of drawing, this is what I've gotten done. This area on his left side. That's all I've done. And that's why I could never get a career in comics. I am truly this slow. But it looks nice, right? You guys like it? Hope you like it. I'm working hard on it. I want it to be beautiful. I want people to like it.
I like your dumb Keebler elves.
Thank you. This even Chad.
Yeah.
Wow, gross. There we go. Yeah, I'm liking how this is turning out, so I don't regret what I'm doing. But it's, man, I'd give anything to be faster. I'm never going to be faster. Because I don't want to accept what it would take to be faster. But, yeah. I would have to draw in less detail. I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to be slow. And there's no pressure for me to be fast.
The book about FTO is called Going Infinite.
FTX, you mean?
Yeah, FTX. That's what I meant. Yeah. It's called Going Infinite, and it is very clear that, like, oh, you got so taken in, like,
to the moon. Yeah. Just, does anyone remember when there was this like fucking crypto promo, and I don't remember who did it. It might have been FTX, it might have not, but their whole bit was they just got a cube of 24 karat gold, and it was like a cube that was like, how would I describe its size? Like it was about the size of an old CRT TV. So it was like immensely heavy because it was a solid cube of 24 karat gold, and they just took that and they put it in the middle of Central Park. And even though it was like too large for anyone to ever like pick up and carry off, they assigned like a 24-hour guard to it. And the only reason they did this was, invest with us. Let's pretend it was FTX. It was like, FTX, invest with us. And it's just a 24 karat cube of solid gold. And I remember just being fucking incensed by this because I was like, the frustrating thing, the thing that deeply frustrated me. Daryl says he loves Chad's left bicep. Thank you. The thing that deeply frustrated me is I knew it would fucking work. I knew it would work. But it doesn't tell you anything about what these people even do. It doesn't tell you anything about, like, this is our system for investing and this is how we pick winners. It doesn't do any of that. It's just like, it's the fucking financial services equivalent of waving your car keys in a baby's face. And I was just like, this should not be allowed. This is fucking garbage. This is the worst thing ever. I was so mad when I saw that.
I have a beautifully damning review of this book, Going Infinite.
Mm-hmm.
The Los Angeles Times notes, it's a textbook on the imperative need to approach a subject with a healthy helping of skepticism, because Lewis doesn't exercise any.
Yep.
It is a torrent of nonsense.
A torrent of nonsense. Oh, wow. That's a cover quote. Pull quote that shit immediately.
A torrent of nonsense.
A torrent of nonsense. Oh, I've spent all evening on an arm and a bundle of horns, and I regret nothing. I just hope when this goes up, people go, oh, that's nice. It won't stop me if they don't, though. I'm just like this. I don't suggest being like me, anybody. Anybody listening, I don't suggest it. Oh, by the way, it is 15 past 10. We should probably think about wrapping it up pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm just reading these bad reviews
I can
of
tell.
yeah. Um, Lewis fawning over Bankman-Fried during that onstage interview. The trying to torpedo a rival book before it comes out, calling it corrupt and saying that it was skeezy, um, even though um, it is a more accurate portrayal of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, Lewis seems to be so willing to let Bankman-Fried off the hook, even though Bankman-Fried was charged with fraud and money laundering. He's
Mm.
Ugh.
All right. Okay. And I think with that, I would like to go and have dinner.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching.
Folks, I am terribly sorry that this is all I got done, and I'm also terribly sorry Amanda's not here, but Amanda is out of town. So all you get is us. Sorry.
Amanda's not out of
Oh,
town. She's at her new
oh,
day job.
oh, I thought she was out of town. Okay, she's at her day job, excuse me. Okay, it is at her seasonal day job. That's right, we talked about this last week. But thank you so much for coming. The comic you have been watching me draw laboriously slowly is called Blacada. You can find it at blacada.com, but it has to be http colon slash slash, not https. So you have to go to http colon slash slash blacada.com because it is domain forwarding. It is not an actual domain. Other than that, hi, I'm Spike. I founded and run both Iron Circus Comics and Iron Circus Animation. We specialize in the strange and amazing. Please watch our very first animated short, Lackadaisy, right here on YouTube. It's about cats with booze and guns. Everything goes very badly and it's very entertaining. You can also read the comic that inspired the Lackadaisy animated short, soon to be the animated Lackadaisy Season 1, at lackadaisy.com by the wonderfully talented Eisner-nominated creator Tracy Butler. IronCircus.com is where you can find all of the comics we publish. Head there right now and check out the new raft of books that have just come out this year. We sure hope you like them. It's too late to have them in time for Christmas, a day too late, but you know what? Who fucking cares? You should get them anyway. Support the small press and buy some great books. As for me, I am Spike. You can find me on Blue Sky as Iron Spike, all one word. Pillow Fort, Iron Spike, all one word. And co-host, Iron Spike, all one word. I used to be on the bird site. I am not anymore. We don't talk about the bird site. And yeah, please remember to subscribe and like this video and maybe hit the little bell so you get an alert every time we go live.
I'm Kel McDonald. You can read all my comics at kelmcdonald.com. I have been drawing on my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/kelmcdonald. My comic about gay werewolves in the future. So you should go read it. And social media is horrible. I hate it. All my social medias are linked on my website, but
you're not there.
I hate them.
Yeah, you're not there.
I'm sometimes on Blue Sky. Sylphie updates my Tumblr and my Facebook and my Instagram for me.
Yeah, and Sylphie also has taken over Iron Circus social media. So that's all. Sylphie's entire existence is updating Twitter, a fate worse than death.
So I occasionally reblog stuff on Tumblr.
Yeah.
I've gotten more into Tumblr lately because it's just full of shit posts, and those are a lot more fun to read. I before everyone goes, I'm going to share a great trans joke that I read on Tumblr. Hold on.
Okay.
If your estradiol comes in pills, it's measured in mg, which stands for milligirls. Injectable estradiol is measured in ml for milliladies. Testosterone is also measured in ml, but over there it means millilads. That's good.
I'm
It's like
glad.
good. I love it. I love it. I love a good dad joke.
Uh,
Anyway,
okay.
have a good one, everyone.
Thank you for your patience, your kindness, and your attention this evening, everybody. Y'all are the best. You're so kind. Kaitu, thank you for coming. Daryl, Alan, Kristen, everyone. Nudist, I know you already left, but thank you for coming. Y'all are the best, and I super appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week, a wonderful weekend. And let me check the calendar really quick. Yeah, next week we will stream, but we will probably not be streaming on December 28th. Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.